Hello, my lovelies. It is me again on my own personal road to WrestleMania 40. This week, I revisit WrestleMania 16 or WrestleMania 2000, whichever one you prefer. Still in the Attitude Era, so I am dressed accordingly. At this WrestleMania, we get a McMahon in every corner and only one singles match. And oh boy, is that a doozy, so let's get into it. This WrestleMania happens at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim, now the Honda Center. It takes place April 2nd, 2000. It's the name WrestleMania 2000. This WrestleMania starts off the tag team match. This isn't for tag titles. That will come later on in the event. Amazing, and we'll get into that. But this was a interesting way to start a WrestleMania. The match itself, the Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan versus D'Lo Brown and the Godfather. So with the Godfather comes the Ho Train. But it was actually Ice-T that sang the Godfather and D'Lo Brown down to the ring. Pimpin' ain't easy, man. Very 2000s. So this match between the Boss Man, Bull, D'Lo Brown, and the Godfather, there is no real reason for it. I think it was just to get Ice-T out there. It was like the pimps versus the cops. I don't know. And I don't think there was anything really leading up to this other than Bull and Boss Man kind of picking a fight with the other two. There was really no reason for it, and it had absolutely no business being on this card. This match was under 10 minutes long, and it was not great. It was very clunky. Ho Train ends up getting chased out of ringside at one point. It's just an Attitude Era mess. It was just there for the sake of being there. Going into the next match, we do get a backstage segment, and that is the two champions of the WWF at the time. Women's champion, Stephanie McMahon, and the WWF heavyweight champion, that is Triple H. So they are like the power couple at this point. Remember previously to WrestleMania 16, Stephanie and Test were getting married. Triple H came out and showed on the Titantron that he married an unconscious Stephanie McMahon at a drive-through in Vegas or so. So they're technically married now. Fast forward to WrestleMania 16. Now they're a power couple. They're both holding championships. You know what I'm talking about. Next match on the card is the Hardcore Battle Royale for the Hardcore Championship, and this is going to be a hot boo-boo mess, so let's get into it. At the time, Crash Holly is the Hardcore Champion. Early 2000, Crash Holly was ready to take on anybody, anywhere for the Hardcore Championship, and instates the 24/7 rules. So he will take on anybody, anywhere. You know what that belt is, the 24/7. Only person that holds that belt for me, in my eyes, properly is R-Truth. Gotta love the man. At WrestleMania 16, we are getting a battle royale, so it is a 15-minute time limit. What that means is Crash Holly goes in as champion. There is 15 minutes on the clock, and it doesn't matter if somebody gets pinned, continues into the 15 minutes, and that next person has to hold it till the time limit. And it is as messy as you think it is. It's a lot of people, so let's go down the list of who is in this Battle Royale. Participants in this Hardcore Battle Royale are the WWF Hardcore Champion, and that is Crash Holly, defending against the Mean Street Posse, the APA, Kai and Tai, the Headbangers, Taz, Viscera, and Hardcore Holly. Like I stated, even if somebody gets pinned, that new champion has to make it to the 15-minute time limit. There's a lot of pins going on here. And of course, it has to be that champion that gets pinned for that other person to be the winner. I don't know. I kind of liked this match. I'm not going to lie. It was a hot mess. There was a lot going on. Taz forgot where he was, and he just started pinning people even though he was the champion. But I digress. So Crash Holly goes into this match as the champion, and about 3 minutes in, he gets pinned by one of my favorite EC dub guys, and that is Taz. Taz does go on to be Hardcore Champion for about 4 more minutes, something like that. And then we have Viscera. Viscera is our new Hardcore Champion, but we still have minutes on the clock. So y'all know what Viscera looks like. He's a big, big man. He was one of the wrestlers growing up that scared me the most, Viscera. I still have nightmares. Of course, everybody dogpiles on Viscera. They need a bunch of people to take him down, but also he is now the champion. So when they dogpile him, with about 7 minutes and 40 seconds left, one of the members of Kai En Tai in the pile of people is the one that gets the belt. So this is the third exchange of the Hardcore Championship. The other member of Kai En Tai, Nene, he starts attacking his own partner. There is so much chaos and violence going around. Every man for himself. Let's get into it. The members of Kai En Tai attacking each other. This brawl heads backstage, and back there, Rodney gets the pin. He is the 4th Hardcore champion in this match. He is one of the guys from the Mean Street Posse. If you remember from my last video of WrestleMania 15, the Mean Street Posse is the hardcore gang from the mean streets of Connecticut that grew up with Shane McMahon. Pew, pew. And then the 5th exchange is from Rodney to Joey Abs. He's another guy from the Mean Street Posse. And let me say, I was making fun of the Mean Street Posse, but were they covered in the red stuff in this match? Oh my God. Then we're going to exchange again because Mr. Joey Abs gets pinned by Thrasher. Thrasher, of course, being from the Headbangers. I am a huge Headbanger stan. And then from Thrasher, we're going to get into the 7th exchange, and that's to Pete Gas. He's another guy from the Mean Street Posse. And then let's circle back because Pete gets pinned again. Taz is our new hardcore champion. If you're keeping track here, Taz was 2nd hardcore champion in this match and now the 8th. Crash, and he is the next to pin Taz. Is your head spinning yet? Because I know mine. For the final exchange of the Hardcore Championship, Crash Holly is now the champion. We get Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly in the ring. So there was a little controversy surrounding the end of this match, and apparently some things happened that weren't really supposed to happen. Hardcore Holly hits Crash Holly in the head with a jar of candy that he got from the commentators while Crash Holly is in the hold of Taz. He hits him over the head. 1, 2, 3. You could hear Jerry Lawler saying, "Oh, Crash kicked out, Crash kicked out." I watched that like 50 times. Crash did not kick out. My man's was down. He did not move. They show a replay repeatedly as well of the 1, 2, 3 and saying Crash kicked out when like you can see it. It's not helping their case at all because he clearly doesn't kick out. And apparently the ref was getting something in his earpiece that wasn't on time with the actual show. So Hardcore Holly wasn't actually supposed to win the match. And fast forward to Raw the next day and Crash gets his belt back from Hardcore Holly. You know what? I had a good time watching this match. You never knew what was going to happen, who was going to get the belt next, why they were going to get the belt, how they were going to get the belt. There was chairs, there was bars of candy. It was just chaotic. The ending didn't help that much, but you know, it's the 24/7 belt. What do you want? Here we go into the next match, which is another tag team match. Absolutely, really no build to why these tag teams are having a match. It kind of just is, not for a belt, not for anything. And that is TNA, Test and Albert versus Head Cheese. Head Cheese being Al Snow and Steve Blackman. Obviously to all of this, Al Snow is trying to get Steve Blackman cut loose a little bit, show his personality, be a little more silly. And Steve Blackman, nay, I don't want to be the Head Cheese. Let's take this very seriously. So the dynamic between these two is really fun, but it gets real weird in this match. One of the things that Al Snow tries to get Steve Blackman to do or gets him to do to gain like personality, a little bit of a silliness, is milk a cow.
What are we doing here? This is Wisconsin, the land of cheese. You need to get in touch with your cheese roots, Steve.
Previously to this WrestleMania, I mean, work the farm, be a man. I don't know. But anyway, previously to this WrestleMania, before the WrestleMania and their match kicks off, you can see Al Snow in the bathroom speaking into a bathroom stall, and Steve Blackman comes in and he's like, "What are you doing? No funny business. This is WrestleMania. You have to take this seriously." Al Snow gonna listen? Who's behind that door in the stall? Al Snow? Of course, I do want to say the tag team of TNA, Albert and Test, they come out with the debut in WrestleMania of the Canadian lady, and that is Trish Stratus. So she's there. She makes this match enjoyable just for existing, to be honest, because this match is not it. It lasts about 7 minutes. It's, again, very clunky. They didn't put a lot of time into this, that's for sure. I mean, maybe they did. I shouldn't talk shit. Maybe they all love this match. I don't know. But I did not like it. There was no build to it. There was no reason for it, really. The head cheesers, Steve Blackman and Al Snow. Al Snow did have some funny business, and who he was talking to in the bathroom stall was, I guess, their new mascot, and that's Chester Cheeserton. Chester McCheeserton. Very important tidbit of information there. Chester McCheeserton. You know, Chester's out there ringside with Trish Stratus, and Jerry Lawler at one point calls him Chester the Molester. It's a great match. TNA does go on to win. They defeat Head Cheese. Al Snow tells Steve Blackman, hey, I know you were right. We shouldn't have done this funny business. He lifts up Cheesy McChester, whatever, up into the ring like a baby, and they just start beating up this little man dressed as a block of cheese. It is something else. You want to head to the back. We get like a little, you know, promo. I wouldn't even call it that. We get the Cat and Mae Young, and they do this kind of like the Cat's getting ready, and she is in the nude, and they're covering her with things. Anyway, spoiler alert, this will go into the only singles match later on in the card. So the next match on the card is a tag team title match. And this is the triangle ladder match, which I'm super excited about. So back February 27th, 2000, we had the pay-per-view No Way Out. And at that pay-per-view, the Dudley Boyz will win tag team titles in the WWF for the first time against the New Age Outlaws. So going into WrestleMania 2000, they will be tag team champs, and they are taking on the likes of Christian and Edge and the Hardy Boyz. So we got a 3-way tag team match, and I love this match. I love this match so much. But I will say the match at WrestleMania 17 surpasses this one, but we will get into that next week. So we got the Hardy Boyz, the Dudley Boyz, Edge and Christian, and this will be the debut of all 3 teams at a WrestleMania. So that is pretty fucking cool. So previously to this WrestleMania, Edge and Christian were feuding with the Hardys. Those 2 teams, I will say, are probably in my top 3 of tag teams. Top 3, maybe top 5. Having those 2 teams plus the Dudleys are great. These 3 teams in a triangle ladder match, it was stellar. Of course, the Dudleys brought out the tables. You gotta do it, you gotta give the people what they want. Of course, not only the tables, it's a triangle ladder match, so there are ladders flying everywhere. People are being sandwiched between ladders. People are falling off ladders. JR called it a baker's dozen of ladders. That was a terrible accent of JR. My apologies, JR. This match was chaotic, but in all the right ways. I'm going to have to say this is probably one of my, favorite matches on the card, but this is one of the only matches that I like on the card besides another one, but we will get into that a little bit later on. Wrap up this match, it was Edge, Christian, and Matt Hardy climbing the ladders at the same time, but they push Matt Hardy off the ladder. He goes through a table, and that gives Christian and Edge the advantage to grab the tag titles, and my Canadian boys are the new tag champs of the WWF, and I love to see. So the next match on the card, I'm gonna breeze by. I do want to talk about a couple of things, but this is Chyna and Too Cool, so you know you're gonna see the worm from Scotty 2 Hottie up against the Radicals, and the Radicals include Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, and my favorite wrestler of all time, Eddie Guerrero. And this was at a time that Eddie Guerrero was telling Chyna she could not resist his Latino heat, because who can? This match was an intergender match when you include Chyna. It was 10 minutes long, and it was not a good match. It was not a good match. I love me some Eddie Guerrero. Every time he was in the ring, he was tagged in, and then Chyna would get tagged in because she wanted to whoop his butt because he was like bothering her with the whole Latino heat. Every time she was tagged in and he was the person tagged in, he would just book it. He'd run away. He's like, I'm not taking this from you. Chyna and Too Cool did end up winning this match when Chyna powerbombed Eddie Guerrero. I mean, I absolutely love to see it because I love both of those people. Sorry, folks, before we get into my other favorite match on this card, we do kind of have to touch on the only singles match on this entire card, and that is Terry Reynolds versus the Cat. Apparently, I don't even know how this came about. I think the Cat took one of Terry Reynolds' shirts, and when she gave it back, it was ruined, and it just did not need this, especially at the grandest show in pro wrestling. Here we are. We have Terry Reynolds with the fabulous Moolah in her corner, and we have the Cat with Mae Young in her corner. And the special guest referee is one of my faves, and that is Val Venus. He ends up making out with, you know, the Cat and Terry Reynolds, and then at one point Mae Young is like pushing herself on him. I don't care about this at all, and I want it to go away. But Terry Reynolds ends up defeating the Cat with some outside interference. Let's just forget that this ever happened. Mae Young, that woman always entertains me. And previously to this WrestleMania, she also gave birth to a hand. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, she's a wild one. And the next match after this one, I will kind of touch on Chyna and Eddie Guerrero once again in their little love stories. We are going to get into the one person that is in this match that shall not be named, but we'll have to because we're here, we're talking, you know. To the two-fall triple threat match, and that is for the IC Championship and the European Championship. So going into WrestleMania 16, we have Kurt Angle, and he is the IC and the European Champion. So as I stated, this is a two-fall triple threat match. So we have Kurt Angle, the champion, holding both belts. The first fall gets the pin will win the IC Championship. The second fall, they will get the European Championship. And they don't even necessarily have to pin the champion, being Kurt Angle. How this match came about is Kurt Angle and Bob Backlund were going back and forth, and he couldn't get away from Bob Backlund. And then going into this match, Kurt Angle thought there was a conspiracy against him. Find out that it was Bob Backlund that suggested this match to toughen up Kurt Angle. This match is Kurt Angle up against Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. We got to talk about him. He's in this match. I don't know what to tell you. That being said, all three of these men, they have not been at a WrestleMania before, so we are debuting all three men. I am a huge Chris Jericho fan. Got my Chris Jericho hair on today. I really enjoyed this match. I loved the two-fall triple threat idea. It was very exciting for me. It was kind of like the Hardcore Championship, you know, where there's multiple falls in one match, except this was well put together. The first fall was Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. Since he got the first fall, that means he is the new IC champion. Second fall was reversed. Chris Jericho pinned Chris Benoit for the European Championship. So Kurt Angle walking out with nothing. Kurt Angle's got nothing. This match was about 13 minutes long. It was really great. All three of these men are great in the ring. And I know I'm not supposed to say that. He, you know, did some stuff, some terrible stuff, and I don't like talking about him because I don't think he deserves it. Oh, it was a great match. I really am a huge Kurt Angle stan. I think he's done amazing things, and I will go on record to say Kurt Angle's TNA run, to me, was better than the WWF. I know. It was pretty cool how they did it this way because Kurt Angle actually didn't get pinned in this match. So it kind of still makes him look strong while getting both belts off of him. And like I said, we're going to circle back to Chyna and Eddie because Chris Jericho is the new WWF European Champion. But nay, that does not last very long because right after WrestleMania 16, Chris Jericho has a match with Eddie Guerrero, and who comes out and turns on Chris Jericho and helps Eddie win the European Championship? Oh yes, yes, that is our girl Chyna, and I just love them together so much. RIP to both of those people. Next match that I kind of want to touch on, and we're going to breeze on by, it's another tag team match. It's D-Generation X, Road Dogg and X-Pac versus Kane and Rikishi. This match was 4 minutes long, and there was like this huge back and forth between Kane and X-Pac forever, and X-Pac had turned on Kane previously, and then Kane's girlfriend Tori also turned on Kane and joined DX, and she's actually ringside with D-Generation X. I absolutely hated this match, and we had Kane and Rikishi winning this match as well. But two things that I do want to say that I liked: Paul Bearer was there, he's with Kane and Rikishi, and at the end we get Rikishi dancing, we get the whole thing. I love Rikishi so much, and of course we got a lot of stank face. We got a lot of stank face in this match. We are now at the main event. This is the four corners of the McMahons, McMahon in every corner, if you so will. And this is Triple H. He is the WWF champion. He is with Stephanie McMahon in his corner. The Rock is with Mr. McMahon. Mick Foley has been brought back by Linda McMahon. We will get into that, but he was retired, so he was pulled out of retirement for this. We have the Big Show with Shane McMahon. This match is for the WWF Championship, but it doesn't really matter. The match kind of feels like it's more about the dysfunction of the McMahon family. They're in every corner. They've picked a player, and of course, Triple H is the champion, and he has his wife, Stephanie McMahon, in his corner, and she is the women's champion. We had Mick Foley with Linda McMahon in his corner, and if you remember, at the No Way Out pay-per-view in February 2000, that is when Mick Foley retired from in-ring. So she brought him back. He retired at No Way Out because months previously to that, he was saying he was having a lot of memory issues. He told Vince McMahon there were some days he would just drive past his house. He couldn't remember where he was. So he was like, you know what? I really need to hang up my boots. But going into WrestleMania 16, apparently they gave Mick Foley a lot of money. Your child's education. Just come back, this one last match, let's go for it. Watching that Hell in a Cell match between Triple H and Mick Foley at No Way Out in February 2000, I cried like a baby, I'm gonna cry right now. I love Mick Foley so much. Seeing how emotional he was when he turned around and looked at the crowd and knew it was his last time, it hit some spots. But then, fast forward to April 2nd, 2000, Mick Foley's back in this four-way elimination. But that is such a Mick Foley dad move. Like, you're gonna pay my kids tuition? You're gonna give me that much money? Okay, let's go. So Shane McMahon is in the Big Show's corner at WrestleMania 16, and previously to WrestleMania 16 at No Way Out, Shane McMahon did come back to the WWF after extended time off. Big Show and The Rock had a rivalry going back and forth, and at the Royal Rumble, they were the last two men standing. With The Rock throwing the Big Show over the ropes at the Royal Rumble, Rock also fell out, but he pulled himself up, so he was the winner and the number one contender. And this just intensified the rivalry between The Rock and the Big Show. Nene back and watching the Royal Rumble match, it does seem that The Rock's feet do touch the floor. So this little happy accident, they ended up working into the show. And the Big Show says, hey, The Rock, his feet touched the floor first before I fell out, so I should technically be the winner of the Royal Rumble. Triple H, now married to Stephanie McMahon, is making some decision making behind the scenes. He says, Big Show, show me proof that this is exactly what happened, and you will get a match against The Rock to go into the main event of WrestleMania. After the Big Show shows Triple H the video evidence of The Rock's feet touching the floor, Triple H has no choice, and he signs The Rock and The Big Show up for a match at No Way Out for a spot event of WrestleMania 16. At No Way Out, The Rock and The Big Show have a match, and The Big Show defeats The Rock, meaning he is moving on to WrestleMania 16. Of course, we have the return of Mr. McMahon, and he's in The Rock's corner. You know, I don't think he's too happy that Triple H married his daughter. He's with The Rock, okay? This was a fatal four-way elimination match, so pins, all that stuff, that happens. If you get pinned, you're eliminated. The first person to get pinned was Mick Foley. Mick Foley and his memory and stuff. I'm glad they didn't keep him in the match for too long, but it's always sad to see him go. This match was almost 40 minutes long, and it definitely felt that way. Like it did drag in a lot of spots. The McMahons were getting involved quite a bit. Stephanie McMahon sticking up for her man, Triple H. At one point, Vince McMahon gets hit really hard and he has the red stuff coming down his face. He needs to go to the back, but he ends up coming back out later on in the match. I just feel like this match had nothing to do with the WWF Championship at the time. This felt more like it had to do with the dysfunction of the McMahon family, like I said earlier in the video, which is fine. Everybody really enjoyed that dysfunctional stuff back in the 2000s. We were watching stuff like Jerry Springer, you know what I mean? So it got eyes on the product. People wanted to see what this family was going to do, and they just got involved in this match a little bit too much for my liking. And previously to this main event match happening, Vince McMahon said something backstage along the lines of, I'm gonna get my family back together, something like that. He turns on The Rock. He's in The Rock's corner. He gets into the ring with a chair, and it looks like he's gonna hit Triple H. He ends up hitting The Rock so Triple H can get the 1, 2, 3, and he hugs Stephanie McMahon in the middle of the ring. So now we get Vince McMahon back to the heel turn, which I love. I loved heel McMahon. The amount of trash that was thrown into the ring was something phenomenal. I don't think that this match had to be 40 minutes long though. You guys let me know. I know they were kind of building up with all this stuff happening, the contention with the family, and, you know, Vince coming back, Shane coming back, The Rock losing his spot, getting his spot back in the WrestleMania main event, and, you know, this happening and the Big Show turning on this. It was just, and they were doing this like up to 2 weeks up to WrestleMania 16. So you didn't even know exactly what the WrestleMania main event was going to be until like a couple weeks before the show even happened. You guys let me know what you think about this WrestleMania. You know what? I will have to give it like a 5. I'll just give it a 5. That might be being generous. I had a good time. When it comes to WrestleMania 2000 and the in-ring work, it just wasn't that good. It was everything going on outside of it, just like the main event match. I had a really good time during the Hardcore Battle Royale. It wasn't great, but it was fun. You didn't know what was going to happen. Expect the unexpected. I really liked the 2 fall triple threat match, and of course the triangle ladder match, but everything else was kind of just thrown into place. So you guys let me know, what would you rate it out of 10? Let me know. WrestleMania 17 is next week, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.